Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen of the press. Amateur service now. We have carried out at least 3 thorough environmental studies of the hydropower projects on the Omo River, which is the one that flows into Lake Turkana. The latest of these environmental studies you will find on the website of the African Development Bank. Now, these studies clearly indicate that the impact, social and economic, of the hydropower dams on the Omo River are negligible. But as I said, there are these advocates of the butterfly who will not hear of any dam in Africa, however environmentally responsible it might be. And unfortunately, they are able to buy some voice in Africa, literally and figuratively, and to some extent also mislead people about the risks involved. So I can assure you, based on these studies, one of which, as I said, is, or used to be at least until recently, on the African Development Bank website, I can assure you that there will be no negative impact on the people around the Turkana Lake. If anything, flooding will be a thing of the past. The first time I visited the area was when there was massive flooding and displacement, and that will never happen again. With regards to the second point, which is about transparency of loans from China and projects and so on. Well, the first point I want to raise about this is that indeed there has to be transparency, and whatever loans we contract from anybody, whether it's Chinese or anybody else, that's done in a transparent manner. The terms and conditions are available for everyone to see. So we are fully committed to transparency in this regard. Secondly, and this is just as a sort of a footnote, it tends to irritate me when some groups take this holier-than-thou attitude when it comes to engagement between Africa and China. An attitude that is not reflected in terms of concern with every other relationship that Africa has, including the vestiges of the colonial relationship. I'll give you a simple example. The media in some circles is flooded with the Indians and Chinese invading, as it were, African agricultural land for nothing. Now, in the case of Ethiopia, that of course is a fiction. But I'm not I don't see these circles ever complaining about a few thousand remnants of British colonialism in Zimbabwe owning 70% of the arable land of Zimbabwe. I don't see the same type of complaint and that tends to irritate me. There are some partners who are supportive of hydropower projects on rivers other than the Nile. That's fine, because we also need to build dams on those rivers. But including the bank, I mean. The World Bank is looking at one such project, for example. But on the Nile, we have yet to find takers of our projects. And so we will have to depend on our own resources. In particular, the major dam that we intend to build on the Nile, that will have to be financed, and it's expected to be financed, and it's planned to be financed by our own resources.
And the role of Egypt in that?
The previous regime in Egypt was very diplomatically very effective in preventing potential partners from engaging in financing of our projects. I hope that the present regime is more rational and more responsive. Governments will always take rational decisions. That is a very reasonable assumption. That is a very hopeful assumption. I'm still hopeful that the current government in Egypt will recognize that this project has nothing but benefits to Egypt. Nothing. I believe the Sudanese understand that this has nothing but benefits to them. So my hope is that there will be a reconsideration of their views. And if there is a reconsideration of their views, then of course there will be time to discuss many issues, including possibly joint ownership of the project itself. We are open to such ideas. There will be issues that could be discussed at some future date, including how to fill up the dam. As you know, the dam is going to sort of create a small lake, twice as big as Lake Tana. And filling up that lake is going to require some management. These are issues on which we would be very perfectly happy to discuss with the Egyptians and Sudanese. And so we are not going to stop the project because we need it yesterday. But because it takes it's going to take many years to build, we would be happy to discuss these issues with the Egyptians and the Sudanese to see if they can come in at any stage of the process, not just by way of joint ownership, but also by simply giving it a green light. That would be a major step forward. That would open up resources for us. Or if they were to be prepared to discuss implementation, water management issues. We are open to ideas at any stage of the process, and we will be extremely flexible. This, of course, is assuming, as you did, that in general people listen to reason. Yes? Well, I don't think that it would be right for me to give credence to all sorts of alarmist statements coming from all sorts of corners. I don't think this is going to be threatened by anybody. That is not to say that the government is not going to take all necessary precaution. I mean, we have to protect bridges, which are much smaller than this dam, from any from any vandalism. And so all the necessary precautions would be naturally taken. But it would be wrong to assume that some sort of, catastrophe is going to happen. Somebody is going to come and bomb the project or invade the territory. That's just fiction. I tell you, it's not going to happen. So that type of alarmist thinking is wrong. Some politicians in Egypt may be unhappy about this project, but the Egyptian people have no reason to be unhappy about this project because they will benefit from it. There is no damage to their interests at all. So I can't see why such fears would be in any sense justified. Secondly, because of the sensitivity of the project, we had to sort of create facts before we announced them. And so the studies were being carried out quietly. The preparations were made quietly. And in that context, the Salini was able to help out because of the fact that Salini has been involved in other such projects on the Nile. But I can assure you that the cost per kilowatt hour of this project is immensely cheaper than any other project we have carried out in Ethiopia. The electromechanical part of the project will be handled by the Metals and Engineering Corporation. That will be the main contractor for the electromechanical part. It will obviously use subcontractors, but the civil work part will be Salini, and the electromechanical part will be Metals Corporation. And because that's a government enterprise anyway, shouldn't be a challenge. But we have to be very careful not to alarm and create all sorts of sandstorms that would delay the project. So we have to do it a bit quietly. There won't be any farmers who will be displaced. There won't be one farmer who will be displaced. There are about 100 or so fishermen who live around that part of the river. We'll make sure that their lives are not disrupted during construction. After construction, of course, they will have a field day because they will have a bigger lake. But during construction, we want to make sure that their lives will not be disrupted. But it's maybe 100 or so fishermen. Otherwise, no farmers will be affected. Range of the cost is around 3.3 billion euros. That's a lot of money. And so it is going to strain our resources severely, particularly because it's not the only project we are involved in. There are many other hydropower projects. There are many other infrastructure projects that we have to take care. So when you add all that up, it's going to strain our finances severely. But it is doable. It is doable, and I think we can mobilize the Ethiopian people effectively to contribute towards the construction of this project. I hope they take some people of the international media to that program. I'll plead on your behalf. Thank you.